What's up, guys? Atapark here, and today I wanted to share with you guys a concept, an idea that's been rolling around in my head for quite a long time, and that is the relationship between the tanks in a raid environment. So before we even get started on the content on this video, there's a few things, kind of administrative type things that we have to go over. First and foremost, this video is going to be two parts. The first part that you're watching right now is going to be focused primarily on the raider. That is the individual raider in the raid group. More specifically, probably the tanks in the raid, but not some bad information or food for thought for those that are not the tank, that maybe have a tank alt, that are doing pug content, etc. The second video that we'll do tomorrow is going to cover you, the raid leader, you, the guild leader, and how you can handle this relationship to foster it, to make sure that everything is going smoothly and according to plan. So hopefully you guys have noticed, maybe you haven't, that the majority of the time I use the Elv UI. It's a user interface that I thoroughly enjoy. I think it's an outstanding user interface, and I've incorporated a lot of the add-ons that you guys have seen in previous add-on videos that I've done, and then a few more that we're getting to. However, for some weird, wacky, unknown, crazy reason, and I would not have believed it had I not tried it, but I made a comment to one of my fellow guild members, a good friend of mine, in fact, oddly enough, one of the two tanks for my guild. And I said, man, you know, every 10 minutes, my graphics card drivers, which I recently updated, crash in WoW. And he said, yep, same thing was happening to me. Are you running Elv UI? And I said, yeah, I sure am. And he said, you got to ditch it. For whatever reason, Elv UI is crashing the graphics card drivers. Are they related? I don't know. I can tell you that this is kind of my backup user interface that I've been working on for quite a long time, and it has a lot of features that are really not implemented, or I'm still working on. Most specifically, the fact that I have no tracking of Eternal Flame. So, Paladin healers, please don't crucify me. If you see that Eternal Flame, you know, if you really dig deep into this video, I'm using it completely, like, to holy power, casting it on people and stuff. It's just, I have no way of tracking it, so really I'm just guesstimating. There's a lot of things with this user interface that are wrong, or I need to adjust, things that I don't like, things that I do like that I need to bring out, etc. So that's what's going on with the user interface. Hopefully you guys are maybe paying a little bit more attention to my voice than the user interface, but just keep that in mind. And as a side note, oddly enough, when I did all the recording for the video for this, graphics card drivers didn't crash one bit. So maybe my fellow guild member had a point. So, going back to the topic at hand, we are talking about the relationship between the first tank in the raid and the second tank in the raid. Generally speaking, you're going to look at having two tanks in a raid group. Now, more than likely, this is going to be the amount of tanks too that you are going to take, regardless of the content and regardless of how many people you have in the raid. Now, if we look back, and if we can actually pronounce words, if we look back at things like the Shaman's fight for Siege of Orgrimmar, you could use 3 tanks. If you look at maybe even Hellfire Assault, if you have a couple of hunters that know what they're doing, or a tank that's really on their toes, you can one-tank it. You could honestly one-tank a few fights in Hellfire Citadel. We've one-tanked Isgard, we've one-tanked Hellfire Assault, Reaver can be done one-tanked. You know, there's quite a few of them that if you have the raid composition and if you have a tank that knows what they're doing, you really don't need a second one. But for the point of this video, and in general, we're going to go with 2. So what's the relationship between the two tanks? This is the thought that the two tanks in the raid should instinctually know and understand what the other one is doing. What this means is that if tank 1 needs to do something, tank 2 should automatically recognize what's going on, recognize that a situation has arisen where, there's an issue in the raid. There are ads that are getting, loose, something like that, and the second tank is unable to get to it, but he knows, and he's not stressing out because he knows that the first tank has it, and vice versa. If something happens in the area of responsibility of the second tank, that the first tank knows, dude's got it, I'm not going to worry about it. And this is the basis for this video. How does this thing come from? And I can already see the first thought that you guys might have, which is, dude, that's bullshit. Like, that's not going to happen. And I can tell you, if you've never tanked, if you've never experienced it before, damn, you guys are missing out. I have tanked for several expansions. As you guys know, obviously healing right now. I dabble in tanking on the Paladin. I've tanked on a Warrior, a Monk, a Druid, a Death Knight, 4 raid tiers. And I can tell you guys, it is absolutely possible to get that right there, to get where you can know in your heart, dude's got it, I don't have to worry about it. Or, I got it, he's cool, he doesn't have to worry about it. It can totally happen. And how does it happen, though? Like, how do you get to this state where you are, like, linked, this hive mind link with your fellow tank? It comes from, one, first and foremost, having an open line of communication with your fellow tank. Now, this does not mean that you are constantly streaming information to your fellow tank. I will say that's not necessarily a bad idea. In fact, when I was tanking High Mall, when I was tanking Blackrock Foundry on my Warrior, having a literal Skype call open with the fellow tank was a godsend. Being able to go, I got this thing, and we didn't have to concern the rest of the raid in vent, and we were able to actually talk, was great. But that's not what I mean. What I mean is that when the time comes where you have to say something, that you're willing and able to do it, that you're willing and able to talk during and after the raid about you and your class's strengths and weaknesses. If you know that you're playing a class that can very easily get snap aggro on something, great example, let's say a Brewmaster Monk with a Keg Smash. You know that something pops up, you hit it with a Keg Smash, that thing's not going anywhere, it's locked onto you. That's a strength that a Brewmaster Monk has, that maybe something like a Warrior doesn't have. They have that ability to kind of ramp up, throw some Devastate, Shield Slam, etc. But they kind of ramp up with it. And you can use that to your advantage, and you can eventually get to a point where okay, ads are coming up, he's got it. Because he's able to Keg Smash, I'm not going to worry about it. And it also comes over time. You will not find that this relationship is going to be instant, that you recruit a tank and tomorrow you just know exactly what the dude's feeling, that you are able to read his mind and he's able to read yours. It comes with time. It comes with communication and time. It also comes with probably the biggest ingredient here, and that is no ego. You got to drop that shit at the door. I don't know what the deal is, what is so appealing with this, with the tank, but it seems like, and especially these days, where content is ever abundant, that you're able to switch between raids, willy-nilly, that you can switch between guilds, and there's really no issue with that. If your guild isn't progressing, or you don't, something makes you unhappy, there are 100 other guilds, and we've talked about this. There are 100 other guilds that provide that exact same experience. They might be one boss behind, they might be one boss ahead, but you're not losing anything, and that's unfortunate. But you got to drop the ego. You got to go, you know what? I'm part of a team. I'm going to help him out. He's going to help me out. I'm going to let him help me out. I'm not going to try to be that guy that does it all, that tries to take it all, and eventually dies. So what does it matter? Like, who cares? Why are we even talking about this? As a raider, who cares? Well, you know what? I can tell you, being in situations where I knew that my fellow tank had my back, that when I slipped, he picked up my slack, and when he, failed, that I was there to cover for him. There was way less stress on both of us, and we had a great time. There's no drama because we're helping each other out, and we're not going, wow, did that asshole just taunt off of me? No, we're working together to get the job done. There's a better performance because you're using and valuing your strengths as opposed to just grabbing everything or just doing, what in the Marine Corps we call OFP, your own fucking program, which is you're doing whatever you want just because you want to, because you think that you're the superstar, that you're the king of the raid because you're one of the tanks. It's easier on the healers. I mean, let's be honest here, guys. If you have two equally geared tanks and they're both taking half the mobs that raid mechanic is spitting out, that's a lot easier to handle than one dude that's taking all of the punches to the face. And that's common sense right there. It's just an easier time on the healers. And as a raid leader, I can tell you guys, it's super stressful to have a situation where the tanks are fighting. So if you're not fighting, if you guys are working together, it makes my life way easier. But let's look at the opposite. What happens if it's not there? Well, you know what? There's stress on the raiders because, like I just said, you're going to go, did that asshole just taunt off of me? All right, can this dick stop pulling all the crap over there? That's my side. Perfect example, let's say Mythic Hellfire Assault. Or hell, regular, normal, or heroic Hellfire Assault, where ads are popping up on the left side, ads are popping up on the right side. Dude, stay on your side. Why are you moving? Why are you encroaching onto my side? The raid leader said, I have the left side, you're supposed to be on the right side. And you, as a tank, are going to get pissed. And rightfully so, because, dude, that's my side. Come on, Sheldon, that's my spot. Go the fuck away. And this attitude, there's this stress on the tank where, like I said, you're encroaching on this other dude's side, that you might have a tank that is trying to take all the mobs, which is super stressful on the healers. And then, of course, you play the blame game. Well, I wouldn't have to pick up all the mobs if he did it, if, his gear was better, if he was doing his job because he sucks. And you know what? Nobody has fun. Now, is it that extreme? Maybe in LFR, maybe in a pug situation, sure. Hopefully it doesn't escalate that quickly in a guild situation, but it can. Or it can, the slow death is not this outright bitching, but this internalization and this hatred, fuck that guy, every time he logs on and he raids with it. I just hate when that dude joins the raid group because he just taunts everything, and that slow churning of hatred because you're not saying anything and nothing's getting fixed. And your fellow tank isn't working with you. And then disasters happen where you may, the healers may be pouring all of their heals into that one tank to keep them alive, or you guys are trying to snipe mobs off of one another. I'll taunt the boss now. Haha, screw that guy now. He has to deal with this other raid mechanic. And you're paying more attention to things that should already be handled, things that are trivial, and big mechanics get completely missed because you're worried about some silly crap. And that puts a huge stress on the raid leaders in general, because now we're not only dealing with, the healers are pissed off because they don't have any mana, or the one tank is pissed off because he doesn't have anything to tank, and he's just standing there and it's wasted DPS, whatever the case might be. It's hugely stressful, and it's unnecessary, and quite frankly, it's childish. So I know that thinking that you can develop this relationship with your fellow tank to where you instinctually, and I'm telling you guys, it can happen, to where you what that dude's thinking. Okay, she's going to pick it up. I don't even have to worry about that side. She's got it. It can happen. And it's super optimistic, yes, but it's possible. So what I ask you guys to do is, if you are in a tanking situation, Work with your fellow tank. Talk to them. Don't be a dick. Talk about what your class can do and what it can't do. I can't get snap aggro on these 5 targets, but you have an ability, blood boil, you have keg smash, to where, dude, you just grab them all up. I'll take the boss. Okay, cool. And you know what? For the love of God, please don't be that jerk that just taunts everything. I don't care if you're an LFR or you're in Mythic. Don't be that asshole that just taunts everything away from your fellow tank. The key takeaway from this is, if you're in a tanking situation, whether you're a main tank, whether it's an alt, you are not a superstar. Okay? You're not a LeBron James. You're not a Michael Jordan. You're not a Kobe. You're a team player. And that's the mindset that you have to have. Hopefully you guys like the content that I'm spewing out here. If you do, give this video a like or hit that subscribe button. Either one. Both of those things encourage me so much more than you guys understand to continue to make more content like this every day. So again, we'll be doing the raid lead side of this tomorrow. And until next time, guys, I'll see you.